may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still like dust, I'll rise. Those words by Maya Angelou not only have been an inspiration to my life, but they encapsulate what Black, brown, and indigenous people have gone through all of their lives, all around the world. When I was just a little girl, my grandfather thought it was very important for me to know where I came from. He wanted me to know about his culture, his history, and everything that he encapsulated. And he took me down to the country, and that's where I learned about the Native American Lenape tribe that my grandfather came from. It wasn't until I got older that I understood the significance of this tribe, seeing them on the seal of the city of New York, seeing them on the flag, and understanding that everything that they stood for, their strength, their tenacity, their growth, their resilience, their ability to overcome obstacles was so impactful and important. We are standing on Lenape land. And not only that, but their spirit resonates throughout New York City. And if you don't feel it now, you should have felt it when the Knicks won. After 53 years, they won the NBA championship. But I have to think that that was part of the Lenape spirit that still exists in this city, where millions of people seek to come here so they can live out their dreams and be inspired by the lights and just the atmosphere that New York City is. My grandfather started his life working on a farm. And when he met my grandmother, well, they had just $2.43 to their name. They got a one-bedroom apartment, and they had a newborn baby girl. And they both set out to achieve their goals and dreams. My grandmother, she was an educator. Her mother was an entrepreneur. She owned a house, and she got to entertain the greats like Nat King Cole and Elvis Presley when they were on the road. She just turned her house into a hotel for the Green Book or wherever people needed to stop on their travels in the entertainment industry. But my grandmother took that same entrepreneurial spirit and said, I'm gonna buy the corner store bodega. And my grandfather took his construction work and reinvested it into real estate. Can you imagine Black, indigenous, Native American people buying back the block? They owned their entire block. And they wanted their children, they wanted to instill that same strength, that same spirit in their children. They wanted them to have education. They wanted them to understand service, and they wanted them to understand business, entrepreneurialism. My mother encapsulated all of that. My mother made sure, as a teacher, that I learned Black history before it was taught in the schools. She took me to the National Black Alliance of Black School Educators conferences with her as a little girl. She took me to Board of Education meetings with her when I was a little girl. And she took me on trips around the world because she taught foreign language. And she made sure that all of her students had the same cultural immersion experiences that she had when she was going to Hampton University, an HBCU that my grandmother encouraged her to go to before a different world inspired a whole generation to go to HBCUs. And my mother took me on trips to Canada with her students. We went to Paris, France. We went to London, England. We went to Spain, Barcelona, Madrid. We went all around the world. And when we got to Martinique, the people that I met there opened my eyes to understanding international oppression, international pain. Vincent Placoli, a writer in Martinique, he wrote a book called Gandahari. It was about freedom. And it turned into a play. And it was about the plight of civil rights for the Caribbean people in Martinique. And that plight was just like the one here in the United States in the civil rights movement. I met Black Caribbean owners of jewelry stores like Victoire, who owned her own jewelry store and gave me a gold ring. I met Nita Sabine, who taught me how to go to the ocean when I was swimming and get seafood that we cooked later that evening. And there were so many people that even though I didn't know the language fluently, we had an unspoken bond, an unspoken connection. And after I went to Hampton, just like my mother did, which my mother did, the civic engagement that my mother gave me, my aunt Laura also gave us as well. She would overhear us talking about the civic, we were just gossiping, talking about whatever the latest trends were, and she interrupted our conversation and said, "Excuse me, young people, you are going to start a club. I don't care what you call the club, but it's going to be the NAACP." And so promptly, we started learning about what is the NAACP? How do we start a chapter for young people? How do we learn about what W.E.B. Du Bois did? How do we get people registered to vote? And we did it. We reached out to nationals. Nationals taught us how to have statewide elections so that we could make sure that we were doing what was proper and good for young people. We were doing so well that even the adult chapter was trying to keep up with us. So we did what we needed to do to really make an impact in the city, in the community that we were serving, and really making a difference to the young people that we wanted to reach. But after Hampton, I started working at the Apollo. And at the Apollo, I was under the leadership of Chuck Sutton, a Harlem great, who taught us production on the backside, taught us the influence of the media on the front side, entertainment, and how to reach a whole generation. Well, at that time, I received some devastating news about a friend of mine that lost his life to violence. And I had to figure out, how do I take such an impact in my life? From the time I was 14 to 23, I was plagued by losing friends to violence. And it was that time that I was inspired to start Present Your Talents for Peace, or Peace TV, which stood for Positive Events in Arts, Culture, and Education Television. It was about inspiring a generation to overcome the obstacles and ills of gun and gang violence. And even at that time, as a young girl, I had these great aspirations to be just like my grandparents. I wanted to be like them. I wanted to also be like the Huxtables, Claire and Cliff. We wanted to build a strong foundation because we knew that strong families build a strong foundation. And of course, Barack and Michelle Obama, great love. That's what we wanted to see, building a strong foundation for our community, for our future generations. Well, what ended up happening after Peace TV and after the Apollo, I ended up helping to start a women's organization. That women's organization was about helping women develop to their full potential. And in helping women develop to their full potential, I started becoming a mother. And my 3 little Harlem girls started coming to meetings with me. They started coming to the to the community board meetings. They started coming to tenant association meetings with me. They started going voting with me. So just like my mother took me to the Board of Education meetings, my daughters were coming with me to those meetings as well. And they were able to see what it was to make an impact and how to get civically engaged at such a young age. Once I started to work in the mayor's office, and I started to see the economic impact that needed to be done in Harlem, because I could see that since the Harlem Renaissance, unemployment was going up, poverty was going up. And how could we triage and make a difference, an impactful difference on a very local level to change those negative statistics? And one of the things that I tried to do, I felt in my heart all we needed to do was do it through the community board. There was something that we could make a difference and do. And as Langston Hughes from the Harlem Renaissance said in his poem called Harlem, he asked the question, what happens to a dream deferred? And it's something that I ask myself all the time. But then I also answer that same question with the audacity of hope. The same hope that President Barack Obama had infused in us when we worked on his election to help him become the first Black president. We have to continue to have the same resilience. It's the same impact that my grandfather taught me about the Lenape Native American people, that they weren't just going to shrink and go away, they were going to make an impact and overcome the obstacles, that they were going to still be strong and make a change and make a difference. So it was all of that that has shaped the future generations. And we have to protect our future generations. We have to protect our children. We have to protect our communities. We have to continue to keep inspiring people to do what's right, even when everybody else is doing what's wrong, even if it looks popular, even if it seems trendy. We have to keep going, and we have to keep trying, and we have to keep on making a positive impact. And that's what inspires me to this day, that I see the future generation stepping up and trying to do what is right and trying to be resilient and doing what is needed and necessary. So now, as I stand here on this red dot, and I'm now serving as the first Black, Native American, Lenape, indigenous woman on a citywide board that gives federal funding back to nonprofit organizations all across the city, I realize what that impact and what everybody instilled in me is coming to fruition, how I can make a positive difference in the responsibility of that. Because just like Maya Angelou said, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the hope and the dream of a slave. And I rise, we rise together. Peace.